What if the most successful club in English football history built everything on a lie? Not a rumour, not a tabloid headline, but 115 separate charges brought by the Premier League itself against one of its own clubs. This is not a story about a bad tackle or a controversial penalty. This is about money, power, and a legal battle so enormous that the entire foundation of English football is sitting on top of it, waiting. This is the Manchester City case, and the verdict could change everything. To understand what is happening, you have to go back to 2008. That was the year Abu Dhabi United Group, backed by Sheikh Mansour, one of the wealthiest men on the planet, bought Manchester City for around £200 million. What followed was one of the most dramatic transformations in football history. Within 4 years, City won their first league title in 44 years. Then another. Then another. Under Pep Guardiola, they became the dominant force in English football, a machine. But in 2018, German newspaper Der Spiegel published a series of leaked documents, internal emails, financial records, private communications between City executives. What those documents suggested was that the money flooding into Manchester City was not always what it appeared to be. That sponsors were being used to disguise direct investment from the owners. That the financial rules designed to protect football from exactly this kind of ownership had been bypassed, systematically, over years. The Premier League launched an investigation. It lasted 4 years. And in February 2023, they filed the charges. 115 of them, covering alleged breaches between 2009 and 2018. Manchester City denied everything. So what exactly are these charges? The Premier League says City failed to provide accurate financial information, that they misrepresented player and manager payments, that they hid the true source of funding flowing into the club, and that when investigators came asking questions, City did not cooperate. These are not minor paperwork errors. If proven, they represent nearly a decade of deliberate financial deception at the highest level of the sport we love. The period under investigation covers 9 years. During that time, City won the Premier League in 2012, 2014 and 2018, plus League Cups, plus an FA Cup. Think about what that means. If the charges are proven, every trophy lifted during that era becomes a question mark. Every title race that City won, every club that finished second, has a right to ask whether the competition was ever truly fair. Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, United. They all lost title races to Manchester City during those years. The legal hearing itself lasted 12 weeks, concluding in December 2024. Since then, silence. The independent panel has been deliberating for over 18 months. No verdict, no date, no communication. Nothing. Legal experts who have spoken publicly believe the decision is coming any day. Some say it could land within weeks. Others warn that the full process, including appeals, could stretch years further. Because here is the thing nobody talks about enough. Even if the panel delivers a verdict tomorrow, Manchester City can appeal. The Premier League can appeal. And with a case this size, with this much money and this many lawyers involved, an appeal is almost guaranteed. Sports lawyers who have studied this case closely believe City will be found guilty of something. That with 115 charges, it is almost impossible to walk away from all of them clean. But what the punishment actually looks like remains completely unknown. The possible sanctions range from a fine to a points deduction to expulsion from the Premier League entirely. Expulsion from the Premier League. A club that has won 6 league titles in 14 years, removed from the competition altogether. That has never happened before in English football, not even close. What Manchester City built under Sheikh Mansour and Pep Guardiola is genuinely extraordinary. The football was real, the trophies were lifted, the players were world-class. But football has rules, and those rules only mean something if they apply to everyone equally. Whether City are found guilty or innocent, one thing is already certain. The fact that this case exists at all, the fact that it has dragged on for over 3 years with no conclusion, says something deeply uncomfortable about how power operates inside the sport we love. The verdict is coming, and when it finally lands, English football will never look quite the same again. Subscribe to The 6 Yard. Be here when this story breaks.